Hey guys, welcome to a windy Winemaker Wednesday today. Harvest 2024 is done. Grapes are all in the winery, wines are pressed and about ready to get down to barrel, but more about that later. Today we are out in the vineyard taking a look at what's going on in the vineyard after the harvest season. With farming, it's all year long, so things are never quite finished. And today's a good day to show you around what's going on. Let's get to it. So what have we here? I'd be remiss if I didn't share with you our pomace pile. As we say, this is all the pomace. These are all the grape skins and stems here in front of us. Stems from the crop. So all of the grapes that we harvested, the whites came in and got direct to press, and here's what's left of them, and the skins or the stems that are left afterwards. And everything to the left here, this kind of burgundy dark red color, are all of the skins and seeds from the reds that we fermented and pressed off afterwards. So all the wine came out of these, and they go out in the vineyard. They get out, put out here in the vineyard at the end of the season, and they get composted, and eventually they will get turned back into the soil from where they came from as nutrient and structure for the soil themselves. So everything comes out of the vineyard, goes right back into it. So as we walk along here, you can clearly see we've got no more clusters left on these vines. So everything, like I said, is in the winery. And actually we're quite done at this point. Things have been pressed out. All the Pinot Noir and the other reds are just waiting to go down to barrel. So nice, quick and very successful vintage. But again, more about that later. We're out here in the vineyard today, taking a look at the end of the season. And so you can see as I pan back along here, the leaves are starting to turn what everyone loves. All the photographers and painters get out in the vineyard in the fall season. They all go golden, slightly red color. Just pan across the whole vineyard here. It's gorgeous out here. Absolutely beautiful day. And the vineyard is looking as expected. So the leaves are starting to turn. They start to dry off, and you can start to see some of them actually falling on the ground here. That's what happens here at the end of the season. Eventually, not too distant future, these vines will be completely stripped of their leaves. So all the leaves will just die and fall off to the ground, and we'll be left with nothing but all of these canes and shoots sticking up in the air, ready for pruning. So we'll get more detailed into pruning later. But just wanted to show a quick peek of what things are looking like right now. So one of the things we look at this time of the year, just across the vineyard as a whole, and you can kind of get a sense a little bit here of more green patches versus more yellow patches. So off in the distance there, we've got a section that's clearly under more stress during the vineyard season. During the growing season, it's pretty yellow, lots of yellows and reds off in the distance. But as we pan back across here, you can see darker patches that are still pretty green, lots of green leaves, and then it gets back into some of the yellow. And so that's helpful to look at from a winemaker or vineyard manager perspective. You get an idea of where the stress is throughout the vineyard. It just reinforces that idea that there's soil differences. The soil differences hold water differently. The clones accept the water and nutrients differently, and just as an indicator of the health of the vineyard for one, but also crop maturity as it grows throughout the season, and just an indicator of where we might want to do separate picks, harvest picks in the future versus picking the whole vineyard all at once. So just good to get out here and see some of the dynamic nature of the vineyards and the individual blocks themselves. Even though panning across here, it looks like one big panorama of a vineyard, there's actually a lot of detail that you can see when you stand back and look at it like this. So quick view of that and what we're taking a look at. So I wanted to stop here. This is actually the section we were just looking at a few minutes ago, that weaker section, that really lighter colored section. And you can see here in these vines, the leaves are already starting to change pretty much, and most of them, not all of them, but most of them have fallen off the vine already. You can really start to see the structure of what grew this year, which is important to look at as well. But this lighter section that we're in, definitely more stress going on in the soil, stress on the vines caused by the soil. These vines are also a little old and tired, but the soil, not a lot of nutrients, not a lot of topsoil here, not a lot of water holding capacity here. So that generally means a vine that has to struggle a bit more, gives up its fruit earlier in the season, ripens it faster. And so we've picked this fruit earlier, and these vines are trying to go to sleep here, go dormant sooner than some of the other sections that still have those really dark green leaves. There also is some virus going on. So a lot of the red color that you see in vineyards at the end of the season is not just beautiful fall colors. It actually is some virus. And I don't know if we can get it here, but this one here, beautiful fall leaf, but there's some virus going on in these vines. These vines are pushing 30 plus years old, so not surprising, especially in Northern California, that there's virus in them. But hey, some of the best wines come from old tired vineyards, and the grapes, like I say, we've been tasting through the reds that came off of this vineyard this year, and they're tasting great. So I'm not complaining at all about what's going on with these vines. Even though they're old and tired, they still made some amazing grapes and turned out some really nice wines in the cellar. So here's a sad story about this harvest. This particular vineyard, there's some Chardonnay out here. That's the block that we're in now. And you may have seen vineyards in the past that have the green netting fully encompassing the whole canopy of the vine, or black netting, some sort of netting that covers the vine, some even big overhead nets. Those are all to protect the vines and the fruit from birds, largely. Deer to some degree, but largely against bird damage. Starlings, a few other birds, but especially starlings are the worst predator for grapes. So as soon as the grapes start to ripen and soften and the sugars come into them, the birds come in swarms, and literally within days, in some cases if the swarm's big enough, even hours, they will strip a vineyard. And that's what happened in this poor little Chardonnay vineyard. I don't know if we can get a close up here, but this cluster right here was not harvested. Obviously it's still on the vine, and was pecked and picked at completely, along with all of its neighbors here, completely stripped of any remaining grape berries by birds. And they will just pick these away, leave all the clusters. And this Chardonnay vineyard had 5-6 tons in it, and within about a week it went from 5 to 6 tons to 0. In fact, we did not pick this vineyard at all. As you can see, the clusters are still here. We didn't pick this vineyard at all. So 5 or 6 tons in about a week disappeared completely because of birds and because this was not netted. So that's a sad story. I really wanted to make some Chardonnay from this vineyard, but not this year. We'll have to find some more. Things are looking pretty good out here. I'm happy with what we're seeing. Beautiful afternoon. Great day to be out in the vineyard. Fall is an amazing time to be out in the vineyard. Cool mornings, cool nights, a little bit of heat in the afternoon. Love the fall season in Northern California. So great. All right, so the last thing to talk about here today is about the irrigation. So after harvest is done, all the fruit is in, the next thing we do, and sort of the last thing you do for the season, is to give them a big drink of water, a big irrigation set. So we'll turn the water on for the whole vineyard, hours and hours of water deep down into the soil where their roots are really, really deep, 10, 20 feet down. So we want to get water well down into the soil profile to keep the vines healthy, keep them and stimulate root growth. So even though we say dormant, vines go dormant during the winter season, actually what's happening is root growth is really taking off, and all the new little ends of the roots are growing during that season. So it's important to start that part of the cycle of a vine with lots of water in the soil profile. And then after that, it'll be time for pruning. So we'll get into that, like I say, we'll get into that in future videos and show you what pruning's all about. Fun time of year, but lots of hard work again, as always on the farm, lots of hard work. All right, we'll see you in the next one.